Welcome to my happy place. Well, that was interesting. I just stopped in at the Barrier Lake Visitor Center before heading down. And they asked me to watch out for cougars this year. To get to the Pickle Jar Lake's trailhead, you actually have to park at Lantern Creek Rest Area. And then from there, head north back up the highway to the trailhead over there. The hike in, I usually break it in my mind up into sections. And the sections that I've broken this hike up into, there are 4 of them. So the first third of the uphill, so the first third of that first 4 kilometers, is basically from the parking lot to the trailhead and then up the hill. And that's a trail that runs up the side of the hill, in trees along Lantern Creek. So you are climbing elevation and you're seeing the creek get farther and farther below you as you do. And there's a lot of roots, there's nice soft ground, it's a nice traveled trail, but it's steep. It's a lot of work. It just keeps going up. This first section, before you get to the side of the hills, just keeps climbing like a lot. These are my favorite markers ever, because that means that I can camp wherever I want. I'm about 1.5 kilometers in, and it starts to level out, and you come to, well, after about 150 meter gain in elevation, you come to the side of these hills. And don't worry, the climb's not done yet, but you get this beautiful view as you walk alongside these hills that is pretty spectacular. The second section is what I call the Sound of Music section. It is a series of sections or pieces of the trail where you are essentially walking along the side of a hill and then up the hill in the trees, and then along the side of the hill and then up the hill in the trees. So it's almost like a switchback style idea, except it's all in one direction. I remember the first time I came here, it was my first random backcountry camping trip alone, and I slept in hard. I was worried on the way back because it was my first trip out alone in the backcountry without a reservation, that if I didn't make it back into service in time to let someone know I was safe, my parents or my family was going to call someone and they were going to come looking for me. So I was booking it out of here on the way out, and I was running across these hills, and I realized as I was running, one of my trekking poles caught a root and it tripped me up a little bit, and I didn't go down, thankfully. But I realized that had I fallen, I would have just likely stayed there, because that's a long way down. It would be one of those, I call it an as you wish situation, like when what's his name from Princess Bride rolls down the hill for like an hour, that kind of thing. Just at about 2 kilometers in, you've climbed just over 230 meters, you get here. And it's an incredible place to take a break and take in the view before you go back up. After that little hill, the trail ducks off of the kind of edge of that hill, or the hills, and it gets into this nice wooded green area. The air's still, you can hear the birds, and it's kind of just this perfect little space. There are a couple of these areas along this trail where the parks team has come in and put these wooden traverses or these bridges over these areas. And it's important to follow leave no trace principles and take those paths, because they're there for a reason. The sensitivity of the vegetation underneath it really requires that you stay on that provided pathway so that you don't do any damage. Oh, I just stopped to take a break in the trees here. The sun's out. It's a beautiful day. Ran into another couple that was hiking, and just took a look at the map, and we're just about a kilometer from the lake, and half of that kilometer is downhill. So in the next 500 meters, the switchbacks are going to take me up 100 meters in elevation. So I'm taking a break. I'm going to have some water. I'm going to have a snack. Probably going to stretch. And then I'm going to hit that hill, because I cannot wait to get over to those lakes. From about that 3.5 to 4, or 3.7 to 4 kilometer range in the hike to the 4.2 kilometer range, you end up gaining another 100 meters of elevation through switchbacks. And it's hard, and it feels like it goes on forever. And for the most part, everyone, including myself, has trouble with it. And you want to quit, but it's one of those things that makes this hike even better, because you get that sense of accomplishment that you don't get with every backpacking trip or every hike. You get to say, hey, I conquered that. I did the hard thing, and I was rewarded with a beautiful night's sleep at a beautiful glacier lake in the mountain. And once you get past those switchbacks, you end up at kind of cresting the hill. And there's an option. You can either crest that hill and you can turn to your right and go on the outside of the hill and go up Lineham Ridge. And that ridge essentially runs the entire width of the bowl of the Pickle Jar Lake's setup. Or you can drop down and take kind of the shale and hard rock path down to the lakes. And that path it's tough on your feet, it's tough on your knees, tough on your ankles. So just be aware. You're dropping back down into the bowl after all of that elevation that you gained. You're losing some to come back down. Once you get to that first lake at the bottom of that kind of traverse, you see where Pickle Jar Lakes opens up to Pickle Jar Creek and flows down to the Pickle Jar rest area somewhere else. But it's that point where the water is crystal clear, and the path along the side of that lake is just moist and dense and thick, and it's kind of boggy, and it's just this incredible kind of space that isn't, it looks like it shouldn't belong there, which is beautiful. And along that lake, you get a lot of wind. Just if you're going to backpack and you're going to camp there, there's a lot of wind that comes along that lake, because the wind comes through that channel through Highwood Pass, and it runs from the west into this kind of bowl. And that first lake is always windy. It just gets all of the wind. And then once you get over that crossing, you get to my happy place. There is a beautiful open camp spot. There's a fire ring, wide open flat spaces if you're in a tent, lots of spots if you're in a hammock. The second lake is where we're at now. This is my favorite of the four for sure. And it is, they're not far from each other, they're real close, but it is kind of over a hill, and then there's a big kind of dense group of trees in between. So there's a natural windbreak to the landscape at the second lake that allows us to have moments like this when the wind is howling at the first lake. I was just over there. It's that the wind will not stop today. If you can see the clouds, they're moving. And that's that same system that's coming this way. So this lake it's again crystal clear. It's super shallow, and it's almost silty, right? Like the bottom is different than the first lake in that it's not all stones. It's kind of a silt and mud kind of texture, and it floats up when you disturb it and things like that. There's something about this place for me that is extremely soothing and just keeps my soul settled. I think I've been calling it my happy place, and I think that might be wrong. I think it might be a joyful place. So this is where the third lake feeds into the second lake. And it's beautiful. I'm gonna head up that trail and see if there's more campgrounds that I haven't used before, see if there's anything new. I don't quite know what it is, can't put my finger on it, but I think it gets windy sometimes here. The third lake is the deepest. If you're going to swim at Pickle Jar Lakes, the third lake is where you want to do it for sure. Essentially, it is the side of the bowl and the side of the next bowl coming together at one location and meeting at the bottom, and the water just fills there. So you have this kind of dark gray greeny color that you get from the stone, and it's one of those places that feels like at the bottom there's a hole that just keeps going. It's kind of it's just a beautiful combination of elements. And then the fourth lake is over a hill again into it's kind of a rocky outcropping. It's kind of like the trees and the grass grow on the mountain instead of the rocks sticking out. You just have these kind of domed rock faces that kind of stick out and protrude around that are quite striking, actually. And over that hill, you end up at this kind of wall. You end up standing on the top of kind of a wall or a cliff or a drop that then feeds to a bog and into the fourth lake. And that fourth lake has this kind of strange, ethereal, kind of whimsical feel to it. It's kind of got a picturesque Alice in Wonderland kind of mystical thing going on. And if you catch it in the right light, the green is just like the most vibrant thing you'll ever see. And it's just surrounded by this mossy, boggy texture and ground. It's fantastic. There's a lot of rocks to walk over. So if you're going from one lake to the next, if you're heading on the one side where the marked trail is, you are going to be walking on rocks all the way through, pretty much. And if you take the longer route around the backside of the lakes, you won't be walking on rocks, but you'll be having to skip over down trees, and you'll have to kind of find your own way a couple of places and things like that. All right, now that we shot the trail video and the details about the trail, let's check out my camp setup. It's beautiful. Got the hammock set up over there. And my pack hanging off the tree. I don't want to get it dirty, it's brand new. Got my fire all set up. Got my starting wood down there. I got some early fuel around it. Got some bigger fuel there, and I got the stuff that's gonna last me a little bit to relax in. This is my water source for the day. This is where the first lake gets fed from the second lake. So there's this section that the first lake feeds out of, and it turns into a nice little waterfall on the way down. So here's the second lake, and you can see the water just flowing through. and it flows down that way, down the rock into the first lake. It is spectacular.